Well, here we go again. Harry and Meghan are back with another Montecito money grab. The Duke and Duchess of Privacy have embarked on a phony royal tour.
Shockwaves are rippling far beyond palace walls tonight, and the fallout could redefine global headlines. In a move few saw coming, a powerful Dubai Sheikh has reportedly drawn a hard line, delivering a message that echoes across continents. Meghan Markle is not welcome. Behind the glamour, the private jets, and polished public statements, insiders whisper of strained diplomacy and wounded pride. So what truly happened behind closed doors to spark such an extraordinary ban? Stay with us as we unravel the controversy shaking royal circles worldwide. The doors that wouldn't open. It was meant to be a fresh start, a polished reset button. For Meghan Markle, the former Duchess of Sussex, it looked like the ideal refuge. Private, powerful, and far from the noise that has followed her since stepping back from royal duties in 2020. But the welcome she expected never arrived. Instead of a smooth arrival, there were questions. Not an arrest, not a public scene, but hours of scrutiny behind closed doors. According to accounts from people familiar with the situation, officials reviewed her background carefully before delivering a polite yet unmistakable message. This would not be her sanctuary. In a city that has built its reputation on exclusivity and control, image is currency, and Dubai guards its currency fiercely. Why such caution? The answer may lie thousands of miles away in London. The highly public split between Meghan and the British royal family, followed by televised interviews and sharp criticism, reshaped how she was viewed globally. Dubai's leadership maintains close economic and diplomatic ties with the United Kingdom. Hosting someone seen as openly at odds with one of Britain's most historic institutions could be interpreted as taking a side. For a nation that carefully balances alliances, perception matters. Yet this was not only about royal tensions. It was about patterns. Over the past few years, headlines have carried stories of strained staff relationships, stalled media ventures, and legal disputes. To supporters, she is a woman who spoke her truth under immense pressure. To critics, the recurring controversies raise uncomfortable questions. Fair or not, decision-makers in the Gulf reportedly saw risk, and risk is something they minimize with precision. When Dubai closed its doors, attention quietly shifted east again. Saudi Arabia became the next possibility. This was no casual inquiry. Discussions were said to involve figures connected to the Saudi royal family, exploring whether the kingdom could provide security and privacy beyond Western media glare. On paper, it seemed plausible. Saudi Arabia has invested heavily in reshaping its international image in recent years, promoting reform and global engagement. But the response was swift. After reviewing her public history and global standing, officials reportedly declined. One senior source summarized the reasoning in diplomatic language: unacceptable reputational risk. In other words, they would not import controversy. Perhaps the most striking remark attributed to an insider was simple and direct. Respect for royalty is non-negotiable. In societies where monarchy remains central to identity and stability, public criticism of one's own royal house can carry lasting consequences. So the grand escape plan dissolved, not in scandal, but in silence. 2 powerful doors, 2 firm refusals, and a stark reminder that in parts of the world where prestige and loyalty are paramount, history travels with you, no matter how far you fly. Saudi officials reviewed Meghan's past before any engagement, uncovering more than rumors. But what hidden patterns or moments in her history truly shaped this larger story? Let's find out. The warning no one heard. So what exactly did Saudi officials uncover when they examined Meghan's history before any potential engagement? It wasn't a single headline or a passing rumor. It was a collection of moments that, when placed side by side, formed a story far larger than one interview or one documentary. They saw the 2021 conversation with Oprah Winfrey, where serious claims of racism inside the royal household were shared with a global audience. The accusations were powerful, emotional, and unforgettable. Yet palace sources strongly challenged them, insisting key details lacked proof. For diplomats trained to read between the lines, the issue was not emotion, but verification. They also reviewed the Netflix series released in 2022, a glossy production that drew millions of viewers worldwide. Supporters called it a personal truth finally told. Critics described it as an expensive airing of grievances. To foreign governments, however, it was something else entirely. Evidence of a couple willing to publicly revisit private disputes. In international relations, that kind of openness can raise eyebrows. Then, there were the legal disputes in Britain and the United States, along with staff complaints that refused to fade. Former employees stood by their accounts despite firm denials. Whether proven in court or not, the repetition of controversy created what officials often fear most: a pattern. And in diplomacy, patterns matter more than polished public relations. Behind closed doors, conversations reportedly stretched beyond media coverage. A London-based analyst later suggested that informal signals may have circulated quietly through Gulf diplomatic networks. Not official memos, not written demands, just cautious advice shared between long-standing partners. The message, according to insiders, was subtle but clear. Proceed carefully. And whose name was said to be connected to that quiet nod of approval? Rumors pointed toward Prince William, heir to the British throne, and a figure deeply involved in shaping the monarchy's modern image. There has been no public confirmation, only whispers passed through diplomatic corridors. Whether those whispers influenced decisions in Saudi Arabia remains uncertain. But in a region where alliances are measured in decades, not days, perception can carry as much weight as proof. In the end, it wasn't one interview or one series that mattered most. It was the impression they left behind. Prince William is known for his calm yet decisive nature, especially when assessing Meghan Markle. But what private judgments does he really hold, and how could they shape the royal narrative? Behind palace walls, William's quiet stand. Let's talk about Prince William for a moment. Those who know him well say the future king does not raise his voice when he is displeased. He studies, he listens, and then he acts. And when it comes to Meghan Markle, insiders claim his private assessment has been blunt. In his view, she is someone who thrives on attention, someone who keeps herself in the spotlight by turning every disagreement into a public spectacle. Had stepped back from royal duties, leaving British royal family watchers stunned. What followed was a storm of headlines: an explosive television interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2021, a podcast deal that faded quickly, legal disputes with the British press, and ambitious lifestyle projects that struggled to find solid ground. To critics, the pattern looks deliberate. Each chapter seemed to bring another wave of publicity, another reason for cameras to flash. Supporters argue she was defending herself against relentless scrutiny. But inside palace circles, patience reportedly wore thin. Then came the diplomatic whispers. Officials from Saudi Arabia were said to have explored possible connections or collaborations. According to sources, William's team responded not with emotion, but with documentation. They allegedly compiled a detailed record of events stretching back years: public interviews, business ventures, court filings, and media disputes. Not a rumor, not gossip, just a timeline of facts. The message, insiders suggest, was simple. Any partnership should be entered with open eyes. When the material was reviewed, the interest cooled. A polite decline followed. Whether one views this as prudence or palace politics depends on perspective. What is clear is that William appears determined to protect the institution he is destined to lead. The monarchy has survived wars, scandals, and abdications. For a future king shaped by tradition and duty, the lesson is obvious. Stability matters more than headlines. And if quiet strategy succeeds where public drama fails, it may reveal far more about the next era of the crown than any interview ever could. Meghan's carefully planned strategy unexpectedly collapsed, sparking fury. But what really caused Saudi Arabia to pull back, and how did this silent refusal ignite a storm behind the scenes? Meghan's high-stakes gamble unravels. Meghan's fury erupted the moment her backup strategy collapsed. This was never meant to happen. In her view, the doors were supposed to open quietly and decisively. Instead, they closed without a word. When word reached her that Saudi Arabia had declined any involvement, the reaction was said to be explosive. Not mild frustration, not controlled disappointment, but a flash of anger fueled by disbelief. For months, that distant kingdom had represented discretion, wealth, and distance from relentless headlines. It was meant to be protection. It became a rejection. What made the setback sting more was the silence. No dramatic refusal, no public statement, just stalled conversations and unanswered proposals. Insiders claim negotiations simply faded out, leaving her team blindsided. By early 2025, the shift was impossible to hide. The same media circles that once praised her bold departure from royal life began to pull back. Editors who previously framed her story as brave and modern suddenly grew cautious. The glow was dimming. Behind the scenes, her communications team reportedly went into overdrive. Calls were placed across London and Los Angeles. Friendly writers were urged to reshape the narrative. Delays, they suggested. Misunderstandings. Exaggerations. Yet the response was cool. In an industry that senses vulnerability quickly, sympathy was in short supply. The attempt to control the storyline only amplified the sense that something deeper was wrong. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in Montecito, another chapter was quietly unfolding. The grand estate purchased in 2020, once presented as a symbol of independence, no longer projected certainty. The property had been more than a home. It was a statement, a declaration of freedom after stepping back from royal duties in 2020. Now whispers suggest that financial strain and mounting expenses forced a difficult adjustment. Whether it was rising maintenance costs or complicated loan terms, the outcome appears clear: a move to more modest surroundings and tighter budgets. The contrast is striking. Just a few years ago, in 2021, public appearances and major deals signaled boundless opportunity. Today, caution seems to define every move. Two figures who once stood at the center of royal privilege now face a reality shaped by contracts, headlines, and hard math. As international doors close and domestic pressures rise, the question lingers: was the safety net ever truly secure? Or was it always an illusion waiting to unravel? Prince Harry began questioning his path while the Duchess remained unwavering. But what private struggles and untold decisions shaped their choices behind the royal headlines? Let's explore the story beneath the surface. The price of reinvention. What happens when a prince begins to question the path he chose, and a duchess refuses to doubt hers? Behind the headlines and glossy appearances, a quieter story has been unfolding. In recent months, friends of Prince Harry have whispered about a man growing more reflective. He has reportedly tried to reopen lines of communication with Buckingham Palace, hoping time might soften what anger hardened in 2020, when he and Meghan Markle stepped back from royal life. Those efforts, however, seem to stall before they truly begin. There is talk that he misses the rhythm he once resisted: the schedule, the uniform, the clarity of service. The structure that came with being a working royal offered direction, even when it felt restrictive. Now, the freedom he fought for appears heavier than expected. Projects announced with great excitement, from streaming deals to media ventures, have not always delivered the lasting impact imagined. Some close to him say he feels worn down, quietly wondering whether the exchange was worth it. Yet turning around is not simple. Public words, once spoken, cannot be gathered back. Interviews, documentaries, and memoir revelations built walls that apologies alone may not break. Each new controversy makes reconciliation seem more distant. While Harry reportedly looks inward, Meghan presses ahead. To pause would risk unraveling the story she has carefully shaped since leaving Britain. Her identity has become tied to challenging institutions and exposing what she calls injustice. To admit miscalculation now would mean validating critics who have questioned her choices since the dramatic departure in 2020. But reputation travels fast, especially in regions where it carries enormous weight. In parts of the Gulf, including Dubai and across Saudi Arabia, personal standing is more than image. It is currency. Diplomatic insiders suggest that caution notes, informal yet influential, can quietly shape invitations and partnerships. Not accusations of crime, simply warnings that association may bring unpredictability. The irony is sharp. For years, Meghan has argued that powerful systems marked her unfairly. Now, critics claim her name itself triggers hesitation. Whether justified or not, the pattern is hard to ignore. Disputes, fractured relationships, and headlines that refuse to fade. In a culture that prizes unity and controlled messaging, unpredictability carries risk. And so the question lingers, can reinvention truly succeed when the past continues to echo louder than the future? The bullying claims against Meghan Markle have persisted despite denials and legal challenges. But what deeper truths or hidden pressures lie behind these enduring accusations? Let's uncover them. The questions that won't go away. Meghan Markle has denied them firmly. Her legal team has issued sharp responses. Her communications advisors have challenged the credibility of former staff. Yet the most striking detail remains. Those who made the accusations have not withdrawn them. Not in the UK, not in the United States. Years later, their accounts still stand. Back in 2018, whispers inside Kensington Palace began circulating about tense working conditions. By 2021, as the Duchess and Prince Harry prepared for their high-profile conversation with Oprah Winfrey, Buckingham Palace confirmed it would examine the complaints. The findings, however, were never released publicly. That silence created a vacuum, and in that vacuum, speculation grew. What unsettles observers is not just the original claims, but the pattern described. Staff members from separate teams, with no obvious link to one another, reportedly shared similar experiences. Then came the move to California in 2020, a fresh start, a new country, a different workplace culture. Yet reports soon suggested that comparable concerns had surfaced among American employees. Different setting, similar tone. For a time, public sympathy seemed firmly on Meghan's side. The 2021 interview drew global attention and deep emotion. The 2022 Netflix series kept the conversation alive. She was presented as a woman pushed aside, unheard, and determined to reclaim her voice. That narrative resonated widely, but sympathy, like any powerful force, can shift. As months turned into years, questions began to replace applause. Some journalists who once defended her started asking harder questions. Commentators pointed to inconsistencies. Supporters spoke of empowerment. Critics spoke of accountability. The gap between image and allegation appeared to widen. Is she a target of relentless scrutiny, judged more harshly than others in similar positions? Or is she facing legitimate criticism that cannot be dismissed as prejudice? That debate has moved beyond tabloids into mainstream discussions in London and Los Angeles alike. The most telling detail may be this. Despite fierce denials and careful messaging, the voices behind the accusations have not faded. In a world driven by headlines and reinvention, the one story that refuses to close is the one still demanding answers. As the spotlight dims and opportunities shrink, Meghan faces a pivotal choice. But where could she rebuild her influence, and what risks await in these quieter, uncharted corners of the world? When the spotlight starts to fade. So what happens when the invitations slow down, the headlines lose their shine, and the world that once felt wide open suddenly feels very small? That question now hangs over Meghan Markle as whispers grow louder about a search for new ground. Any ground, where influence might be rebuilt. Behind closed doors, there is talk of exploring quieter corners of the world, smaller nations with softer media rules and fewer flashing cameras. Not London, not Los Angeles, not the glittering skylines of Dubai or the gilded halls of Saudi Arabia, places less obvious, places where starting over might be easier. But here lies the contradiction. Disappearing was never truly the dream. If privacy had been the goal, it could have been secured years ago. long before the explosive 2021 interview that shook royal walls on both sides of the Atlantic. What mattered more was recognition, applause, a seat at the most exclusive tables, the kind of prestige that turns survival into triumph. That is why certain global capitals mattered so much. They were more than safe options. They were symbols, proof that doors were still open. Now, some of those doors appear firmly shut. And rejection, when it comes from powerful places, cuts deeper than a simple no. It feels like a verdict, not just a missed opportunity, but a public signal that influence may be fading. Meanwhile, old phone numbers are being dialed. Former collaborators, once close friends, names from a different chapter. Yet the silence on the other end speaks volumes. Calls go unanswered. Messages linger without reply. In a world driven by perception, few want to stand too close to controversy. Support can quickly become association, and association can become risk. This moment did not arrive overnight. Since stepping back from royal duties in 2020, each strained relationship, each legal clash, each headline-grabbing claim has quietly added to a growing tab. Goodwill, once abundant, now feels scarce. Bridges that once offered safe passage seem weakened or burned entirely. And so the question returns, sharper than before. Can relevance be reclaimed once the glow begins to dim? Or does the pursuit of status sometimes cost more than it promises to give? Her comeback was meant to shine, yet everything faltered. But what really caused these unexpected setbacks, and what hidden forces blocked her path to reclaiming influence? The cost of a comeback. This was supposed to be her moment, a triumphant return to the spotlight, a chance to reclaim influence and admiration. Yet, as the weeks pass, it's clear the plan has stalled. The Netflix series flopped, the highly anticipated podcast was quietly cancelled, and the book deals she once had lined up never materialized. Even fashion collaborations, meant to cement her as a tastemaker, keep slipping through her fingers. And perhaps most tellingly, the A-list friends she once counted on are retreating. Invitations to parties stop arriving. Supportive Instagram posts vanish. In Hollywood, a world built on optics and opportunity, absence speaks louder than words. The industry sees the truth clearly. Controversy only has value when it produces results, ratings, sales, buzz. If drama delivers profit, doors stay open. If it merely creates chaos, doors close, and fast. Casting directors ignore her calls, producers pass on meetings, fashion houses send polite refusals. Even PR teams hesitate, unwilling to take the risk of another public fallout. The unspoken question is everywhere. Who will be next? Who joins her orbit only to find their name tangled in the headlines, portrayed as the villain in a sudden tell-all? It's a pattern, and it has left a mark. Trust, once fractured, is hard to rebuild. In Hollywood, where reputations are currency, her consistency in burning bridges has become her biggest obstacle. And yet, there's a stubborn drive to force a return. Every attempt to step back into elite circles seems only to push them further away. Trust isn't something you can spin with press releases or clever campaigns. It's earned over time through steady, reliable behavior. And her track record makes that nearly impossible. The more she tries to reclaim her place, the more the walls rise. The parties she longs to attend are now reminders of exclusion. The collaborations she hoped for remain out of reach, and the world watches, wondering if this comeback was ever possible, or if some returns, no matter how meticulously planned, come with a price too steep to pay. What happened in Dubai and Saudi Arabia revealed more than Meghan Markle's actions, but what deeper tensions within royal traditions and loyalties did her choices truly expose? The cost of breaking royal codes. What unfolded in Dubai and Saudi Arabia wasn't just about Meghan Markle. It exposed something far deeper, the fragile balance of loyalty, respect, and tradition that keeps royal institutions intact. Observers from Middle Eastern royal families didn't just see a woman, they saw a storm. They watched as she publicly criticized the very family that had welcomed her, leveraging a title she didn't earn through bloodline while questioning the foundation that had elevated her. And they all reached the same quiet conclusion. This isn't someone we can align with. In royal circles across continents, there's an unspoken understanding. You can leave a house, forge a new path, even break away from tradition, but you don't dismantle the institution that gave you sanctuary. You don't turn insider trust into a weapon. Doing so isn't bold. It's betrayal. This principle of institutional loyalty explains why doors closed where she hoped for refuge. It wasn't cruelty, it was adherence to a code. Families that have endured centuries of political turmoil and public scrutiny understand that some things, values, discretion, allegiance, cannot be compromised. When Meghan appeared seeking support abroad, her actions had already signaled a disregard for that code. And then there is the human cost, one that hits closer to home. The story of William and Harry, two brothers once inseparable, is now a cautionary tale. Shared grief over their mother's tragic death and years of mutual support couldn't withstand the pressures introduced by Meghan's presence in Harry's life. Allegedly, William called her a master manipulator, not from jealousy, but from sorrow and frustration. He witnessed a brother shift from steadfast loyalty to a public pursuit of personal gain, trading family confidence for headlines and deals. The bond that should have been unshakable is now fractured, a chasm that may never close. The tragedy isn't just about disputes over money or media deals, it's about what was lost along the way. Trust, brotherhood, and the understanding that some connections, once broken, leave scars too deep to heal. Two men who should have been allies for life are now set apart, casualties of ambition, influence, and a breach of codes older than any of them. And the world watches, stunned, as the fallout of these choices continues to unfold. Meghan Markle's setbacks weren't random. They were global decisions with weighty consequences. But what exactly drove these refusals, and how did they reshape her path on the world stage? The price of choices. The world is noticing, and it's paying attention. Decisions have consequences, and Meghan Markle's path is proving that in real time. This isn't about a single misstep or a moment of misjudgment. From Dubai to Saudi Arabia, the refusals were deliberate, calculated, and unflinching. These weren't random setbacks, they were international verdicts. Governments weighed the potential complications, the risk of entanglement in ongoing controversies, and the possibility of being publicly criticized. The conclusion was clear: the cost outweighs the benefit. She is now, unmistakably, persona non grata. It wasn't always meant to end this way. Meghan arrived at the royal family with intelligence, ambition, and the potential to bring meaningful change to a centuries-old institution. She could have built alliances, leveraged influence, and introduced new perspectives while navigating the delicate web of tradition. Instead, impatience and confrontation became the default. Relationships frayed, advisors' guidance went unheeded, and opportunities for collaboration were replaced by headlines filled with drama and dissent. Today, the consequences are visible in every corner. International doors are closing, media strategies falter, Hollywood offers diminish, financial pressures grow, even her supporters are thinning, disillusioned by repeated conflicts and a narrative that increasingly sounds like personal score settling rather than empowerment. The charm that once captivated audiences now feels hollow, the empowerment rhetoric empty. What comes next is a familiar pattern: more rejection, more failed projects, and sporadic controversies that fail to sustain attention. From duchess to celebrity, from empowerment icon to cautionary example, the trajectory points downward. Every decision compounds the previous one, and the spotlight that once offered opportunity now exposes vulnerability. Could it have been different? Absolutely. Patience, collaboration, and a willingness to listen might have rewritten this story. But choices made have cemented a harsher reality. Meghan's experience serves as a lesson in accountability. Respect is earned through actions, influence through diplomacy, and sustainability through restraint. The world is watching, not in awe, but with scrutiny. And what they are seeing is not independence triumphing. It's a self-inflicted collapse, a stark reminder that even the brightest beginnings can dim when decisions consistently invite consequences. So what do you think could have led a Dubai sheikh to ban Meghan Markle so decisively? Was it diplomacy, scandal, or something else? We'd like to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe.